people are like, oh, I can't strike, I have to go to school. And I'm like, it's literally called a school strike. That's the entire purpose of it, is like to not go to school. So to say I can't do the school strike because I have to go to school is like, yeah, that's literally the point. Hey, what's up you guys? It's Ari. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hello, and welcome to my channel, and welcome to my hair being separated into 100 different pieces. Today we are going to be doing a part 2. Well, it's a part 2 of the last hair dye sequence thingy that I'm doing, but it's part 4 of all of them, but a part 2/4 of hair dye Q&A. So today we're going to be dyeing my hair red, but we're also going to be doing a rainbow fade right here, and then a blue and green coontail right here, and a pink and black coontail right here. So it's gonna be really fun. Oh, it's also gonna be red down to pink. There's just a lot happening because I hate having boring hair. If you want to see part 1 of this video where I bleached my hair and answered the same kind of questions about activism with you guys, I will put a card up here and it will be in the pinned comment and in the description, and obviously just over on my channel if you want to go look for it. But today we are doing another activism themed Q&A, so these are all questions about activism and about the climate. So without further ado, let's get into the video. After the coronavirus passes, would you be willing to participate in a national climate march on Washington? I don't know exactly what that entails, but yes. I love, well, kind of. I love marches and, like, huge events. I hate them, but then at the same time I love them. And I am hoping to go to Washington, D.C. this November if coronavirus and all that has, like, calmed down. Then this November, will be going to Washington, D.C. to lobby Congress for climate policy. So I would absolutely love it, like, maybe if it was in November while I was there, to go and do that, because I think that would be really fun. What would you like to suggest in recent situation regarding the danger threats of the coronavirus pandemic? How could you define and relate it with the climate changes? I don't know exactly what that question was asking. What I suggest in the recent situation with coronavirus, as far as, like, activism goes, is to do digital strikes, because I have been doing a daily digital strike for a few weeks now. Also, I'm really sorry about this light right here. I hope that's not going to be too annoying for you guys. This is just the only place I can film today. I've been doing daily digital strikes, and they've been really fun, but we also do, every Friday we do a digital strike with Fridays for Future Digital. And there's different themes. We have been partnering with Polluters Out a lot, which is great because polluters need to get out of COP26. But yeah, so I recommend doing a digital strike if you can. Also, if you are going to school, I don't know what the situation with schools will be by the time this video is uploaded, because right now they're all, like, shut down. But if you're going to school, then doing a silent strike is also a pretty cool option, I think. So if you're able to do a digital strike or a silent strike every Friday, or some people do it every day, then that's what I suggest. I don't know if that's what you were asking, but that's the answer that you're gonna get. As far as how I relate coronavirus to the climate changes, I don't really know what you mean. I mean, we have seen a massive reduction in pollution now that everyone is inside and businesses are closing, like, businesses are closed. We've seen a massive decrease in pollution and in all that kind of stuff. So that's been really good. But there's a lot of people that are like, oh, coronavirus is actually a good thing because our pollution is going down and the earth is healing itself. And the earth is healing itself right now, as we are our society is shut down and we're not interfering with nature as much. The earth is doing great. It's doing better than it was before the coronavirus, but that doesn't mean that the coronavirus is a good thing, which is, like, a huge misconception that people are having, saying, like, oh, this was meant to be, this is a good thing, and it's not a good thing that people are dying. Like, it's great that pollution has gone down and that, like, that's been awesome, but people need to stop saying that coronavirus is a good thing because it's reducing our pollution, because it's not a good thing, because thousands of people are dying, and it's eco-fascism for people to say that it's a good thing. So I don't really know what that question meant, but that's my response. How long have you been striking with Fridays for Future Utah? Well, I've been striking for almost a year in total, but Fridays for Future Utah is something that my friend and I created. So I've been striking for almost a year, but we probably created Fridays for Future Utah like maybe 6 months ago, probably more. It was last June, I think, we created Fridays for Future Utah. And basically, when I started striking, I made an Instagram for strike, and it was just called Utah Climate. Like, that's just what it was. Like, the school strike was just Utah Climate, and that's all it was. But then we created Fridays for Future Utah. So I haven't, like, I've been striking in the same place, like, with the same person and slash people for almost a year, but as far as, like, when it was actually Fridays for Future Utah, that has only been about, like, 6 months, I think. What sources would you recommend are most reliable for research? So I get this question a lot, people saying, like, how do you get your information on the climate? How do you make sure it's reliable? Like, what are your sources? Because I always do try to, like, give sources to people when I'm having conversation or whatever. So, first of all, a news article is very rarely going to be well, not rarely, but don't use a news article as your reliable source, because chances are it's not actually a reliable source. Even if all the information is correct and that, like, it's all correct and they're not lying or anything and there's, no agenda behind it, it's still not very credible to cite a news source. So The Guardian is I love The Guardian. I think they post awesome stuff. But I would never use The Guardian as a source, even though every time I fact check The Guardian, they're always factual, which is why I like The Guardian, because they're great. And they do their research before they write articles. But so one thing I like about The Guardian actually is that they cite their sources. And so if I do see something that I like on The Guardian or on another like news site, I try to always see if they have sources and then look at their sources. When news sites just link other news sites as their sources, that's not a reliable source. But The Guardian usually will post like scientific articles and things like that, like actual scientific things. So that's a really great resource. I also have just reached out to a lot of people in, like, the environmental community here in Utah and said, like, do you have any resources? And so I've been sent, like, thousands of pages of books and of scientific reports and of different things. And so if you know people, like, in the climate or environmental field, or there's a lot of scientists on Twitter that are really open and they like to talk to youth activists and to people and answer questions, like, ask them and they can point you towards the studies, the like the papers and everything that you need to, like, really know, if that makes sense. But yeah, your number one, like, most reliable source is going to be just scientific peer-reviewed papers. And also it helps if you look into who the scientists are that wrote it, who they work for, and then who peer-reviewed it and who they work for. Because sometimes, whether it's climate denial or it's supporting climate change, that doesn't make it immune from someone having a motive behind it. So just always check your sources. I mean, we all went to school and they taught us how to, like, check our sources and stuff, so just make sure you're doing that. I don't know if that was a super helpful answer, but I hope that it was. What do you think are the most effective climate actions to raise public awareness? Number 1, school strike for climate. We strike up, well, before coronavirus, we would strike up at the Utah State Capitol. Right at the top, there's, like, a hill, like, it's up on Capitol Hill. And there's, like, I don't even know, it's, like, a really weird kind of, like, almost 3-way stop road thing, but it's not a stop, it's just, like, 3 roads, but then they all branch off into other roads, so there's, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 roads, and they all meet right at the top of the hill, and there's, like, 2 stop signs, and it's just a complete disaster. I don't know who decided, like, how or why they built it that way, but we're, like, at the Capitol, of course, which is where we would like to strike, like, where you should strike is at your Capitol or whatever government building you can get to, but we're just really lucky that there's that space under the Capitol where we can stand that's right by the road. And so for me, that's like a huge way of getting the public awareness, you know what I mean? Because we're there and so many people drive by and see us. Another thing is when we have these deep strikes, these global strikes, where we, everyone in the world coordinates on one day to do actions globally, making sure that you plan something on those days and that it's a big thing, and getting that out there, like getting a press release out and making sure that your event has media and things in it that people in your town, city, whatever are going to actually read. Another thing is if you have an Extinction Rebellion chapter or a similar organization, sorry, I'm reaching over here, in your area, doing a civil disobedience type activity can also if you hopefully get news coverage or there are arrests, which if you are a kid watching this and your parents don't want you to get arrested, which I assume they probably don't do this. But if you're able to get arrested for Extinction Rebellion, there's a lot of factors that go into it. Civil disobedience, when done correctly, is a really great way to spread awareness because it gets on the news. But, like I said, done correctly. Because if you do it incorrectly, it just makes everyone hate you and think that you're stupid. And so then when they see news about climate change, they're going to be like, oh, there's those stupid people talking about that thing again. So just be really careful with civil disobedience. But it can be a good tool depending on if you know what you're doing or not, I guess. And currently with coronavirus, like I was talking about the digital strikes, I try to take my digital strikes a step further from just me, like, posting a picture of me with a sign. I try to give my signs themes, and then those themes, like, it's a way that I educate people, basically. Like, I use my strikes to educate people by having different themes on the signs and then talking about those themes within, like, the post of my daily strike. And so that is one way to create public awareness, is like using your social platforms it's so huge. And there's a line between being an activist and like, oh, I post about the climate on my Instagram. It's like, yeah, that does not make you an activist. Like, hate to break it to you, but if you're like posting on your story about the climate, it doesn't make you an activist. It makes you another person resharing things on your story. Like, so I'm hesitant to say, like, using social media, but social media is such an amazing, great tool. I forgot what colors I was doing here. It was pink and black. That's what it was. But seriously, like, if you, like, I started a thing on my Instagram, and I haven't done it in a little while just because life has been so crazy, but I started a thing called Ari's Climate Facts. And basically what that is I mean, because I keep up to date, like, I read the news and stuff, and I know what's going on with the climate. But I make, like, little informational post things on my Instagram that they're almost like articles, but it's an Instagram post. And it's like climate news almost. And so it's called Ari's Climate Facts. And we talk about greenwashing. I talk about, like, when we break another temperature record, which is like every single freaking day nowadays. And just stuff like that. Wow, I really should not be doing this on my own. I should get help, but I'm not going to. And so if you are genuinely educated and knowledgeable about a topic, like, feel free to post that on your social media and, like, post it on your story or something and leave a question sticker and say, like, do you have questions about this? Like, let me answer them, and make sure that you actually know what you're talking about. Like I said, like, I want to emphasize that so much because there's so many people that post about the climate that really don't know what they're talking about, and they make the rest of us look really stupid. But, like, yeah, be like, share your knowledge, use your social platforms. I mean, I had to create second accounts because I wanted my main accounts to be completely dedicated to activism and only have activism posts on them, because people come to my social media to get information, like reliable information. And so if you have to make a second account for activism or a second account to be your personal, do it. Like, social media is just such a great platform. I feel like my answers in this video have been really bad, and I'm really sorry. I've been quarantined for a long time, and so I'm in a weird state of mind. What inspired you to be an activist? Oh, can you guys guess? Can you guess who inspired me? I'll give you 3 guesses. to guess who inspired me to be a climate activist, it was Greta. It was Greta Thunberg.
How dare you!
I saw her, I've told this story in like 7 videos, but y'all keep asking, so I'll just keep telling you guys. I follow a lot of activism stuff on Instagram. Originally, my social justice thing was gun violence, because gun violence has just been something that always really stuck with me hard. It hurt a lot even when it wasn't happening in my community, and then it was happening in my community, and so that obviously hurt a lot too. And so I followed a lot of just social justice type stuff because of that, and because when I was very confused about my sexuality and things, I followed a lot of LGBT accounts, and then LGBT accounts posted about social justice. So I followed a lot of social justice things on my Instagram, and so I started seeing things about Greta. And I didn't really know who she was. I didn't really care who she was, quite frankly. But she had, like, such a huge platform. And I was like, this girl's really cool. Like, she has a really large platform. And it's really amazing that she's been able to do that. And so I started looking at stuff about her and seeing more stuff about her. And I eventually looked up one of her speeches on YouTube. And got sucked down a rabbit hole of watching all of her speeches. And I wasn't watching because of the climate crisis. I didn't understand the climate crisis at that point. Global warming, ozone layer, stuff like that. But I didn't actually know what was happening, really. I didn't understand why it was such a dire issue. But I thought she was really cool. I thought she was a really good speaker. And so I was like, I really like this girl. Maybe I'll follow her on Instagram, whatever. But again, it wasn't about the climate. It was just about how, I think that it's really cool that she has this platform, that she's been able to build such a big platform, and that looks like she's really making some changes. But then as I continued watching her stuff, and as you Greta Thunberg posts, climate posts start coming up, and I started realizing that the climate crisis was a little bit worrying. I was like, wow, I was just looking at this for fun. These are the most lopsided coontails in history, by the way. But I was kind of looking at this for fun, but it actually looks pretty concerning, now that I'm looking at it. And so I started doing research about the climate crisis, and I was like, okay, her speeches are really good, but what she's saying actually seems pretty intense. It seems like it would be important if all of this is true. So of course, I go on a hunt to see if it's all true, and it is. And so I was like, okay, I have to start a school strike. I can't be silent. I have to do something. I have to start a school strike right now. And so I decided to start my school strike. And that's the story of why I started school strike. How important do you think it is for activism to be intersectional? I think that it is essential. If you don't know what intersectional means, it's basically, from my understanding, and this could be wrong or not the definition that I should use, but from my understanding and my experience, intersectionality it's like inclusivity of people of every gender identity, every gender, every race, every religion, from people from every country, people, whether you're homeless or a billionaire, it's just including everyone for who they are. It's kind of we try not to, this is so lopsided, but it's fine, because I still think it looks cool. We try not to whitewash the movement and things like that. And that's because we want it to be really intersectional, because that's what the movement is. And especially Fridays for Future, which is a global movement, we're representing people from every country, from every continent, from every religious background, from every gender, from every, everything. I mean, like I said, it's global. It's everyone. And so intersectionality isn't just important, it's essential. Because if you're not being intersectional, then you're excluding people. And you're most likely excluding those that are on the front lines of the crisis. Because those are the minorities. Those are the people that get hit the hardest, but are involved the least amount, because they don't have, a lot of people, they don't have the time to be involved with climate activism, because they're not worried about the climate changing. They're worried about getting food on the table for their kids, because they're in a low-income area, and climate change impacts low-income people and people of color so much. Okay, well, I'm going on a rant now, but yes, I think intersectionality, it's not an option. It's not like, should we be intersectional? It's like, if you're not intersectional, like, you're not even, I don't even know. Thoughts on AOC. Okay, guys, this lady, I don't have thoughts on her because I see her so often in the media, and it's always bad things. And I think that's just because the media hates her, because they hate women of color that are trying to make changes in the world, because that's how the media is. But I just don't know enough about her to actually like have an opinion, because yeah, I just don't know enough, so it would be ignorant of me to try to give you guys an opinion right now, if that makes sense. And I know, like, I do need to educate myself. I should know more about her, and I just don't. So that's my bad. But a lot of people are talking about how she could be the first woman president when she's old enough, and I think that sounds fantastic, because our last, like, potential woman president just really wasn't a vibe. And I think it'd be awesome to have a woman president, but I'm not necessarily, like, die hard for it, because I'm going to vote for whoever I think it would be the best president. I'm not just going to vote for a woman because she's a woman, because that's stupid. What I've seen, I think the media hates her. I think that I like her a lot more than I like a lot of politicians, including our president. But I just don't know enough to, like, really tell you. Summarize your activism journey. So this is the last question, but I think that this is a good last question because it'll take up a lot of time while I'm trying to do my hair. I just missed one of my braids. Awesome, great, cool. So I already told you the beginning of, like, everything when I started the school strike. Guess I'll talk about what happened since then. I mean, yeah, that would be summarizing my journey. I'm just trying to think of, like, how to go about telling you this. So I got, my first strike was last May, and when I got there, there was a lady named Alyssa with her son and a girl named Raquel. Shout out to Raquel for being awesome. And Raquel had already been there for 2 months, striking just, like, alone, just by herself, every single week. And so I started going, and for a few months, it was just me and Raquel. Like, a long time, actually. Like, I'm sure it wasn't as long as it felt like it was, but it felt like a long time, especially because we did Climate Strike Summer. So we would, we were striking all through the summer, and in Utah, especially after climate change, it's really, really hot in the summer. And so it would be over 100 degrees, and our strikes were originally 5 hours long. The, like, length of them has changed throughout the past year, but originally they were 5 hours long, and so it was just the two of us every Friday sitting in 100-degree weather for 5 hours, and I mean, we bonded. Like, we're really tight now because of that, obviously, but it was really tough, and it felt really lonely, and it felt like, what are we ever going to be able to accomplish? Like, we're just two people sitting here in the sun getting dehydrated, and no one even wants to look at us. And so it felt really hopeless, but I was like, I knew I couldn't give up, but I didn't know, like, I didn't know if I was doing anything, if it was worth anything. I just knew that I couldn't give up on it. Eventually, during the summer, like late summer, people started coming, and they, like, knew about it, and they had seen us before, and so they started coming, and we had an okay amount of people. It was never super crowded, but, like, we had, like, people came. It was good. It was fine. So we would have an okay amount of people that would come. It was fun. We would just hang out, get to know each other, and talk. And then it started getting closer and closer to the September 20th strike, which I believe, someone correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, was the largest protest in human history with, was it 7 million? I think it was 11 million people worldwide. again, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, because chances are I'm wrong. Just because I'm putting it in a video, it's probably wrong, because that's just my luck. But yeah, it was a massive protest, and so that started coming up. And so we started organizing for that. And so as we started organizing for that, then I made contacts. Like, they're my friends. I call them contacts, but they're also my friends. But I made contacts in other organizations in Utah, like other climate organizations that I didn't even really knew existed. And there's so many in Utah because our natural lands are such a huge, tourist thing here in Utah, like our mountains and our skiing and our red rocks and everything that we have here. And so there's a lot of organizations about it, and Utah, we have mountains, we have the desert, we have a lot of different things, and so there's a lot of organizations, and I got to meet people from all these organizations that I didn't even know existed, and through that build a lot of really good relationships. And so we were planning for this September 20th event. And so we had, this is just like the pinnacle of my journey, was like the September 20th strike was the turning point, 100 million %. So September 20th strike comes, I'm gonna give a speech there, my first speech ever. I was super nervous. We had this light in the background is making it so hard to do this right now. We were expecting about 200 people. And we woke up that morning and someone was like, guys, it looks like we're going to have about 400 people. And we were like, oh my gosh, like that's so awesome. And we ended up having about 2,000 people come. And so it was just insane. And I was on the news a bunch that day. Like, that was my first, well, actually it wasn't my first, because at my first ever strike, I got to be on the news, which was cool. And there was so little of us that it was like, of course they interviewed me. There was like 4 people there. But I really, looking back, if there was more people, I would have been really angry if I was on the news, because it's like such a pet peeve of mine when you pour your heart and soul into something for so long, and it's like your whole life. And then when there's a chance for recognition, people who have never done anything like that before are like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, hi, I'm here because, like, we need to save the earth, but they don't know what they're talking about. Like, and again, it's like, I do appreciate them coming, and like, they are valuable to the movement, and I hope that they continue coming to things and like getting into activism. But it's a form of cloutivism, which is people who are activists just because it's like, it's cool for them, like they get to be on the news. And so but other than that first day when I didn't know what I was talking about, but I was just lucky, it was like the first time I had real press coverage. And so I got to be on the news, on like radio, TV, like live news, like it was really, really cool. And then we had a huge march, which you can imagine with all the people was so amazing. And they wanted me at the front of the march for the cameras, because there were news people like with cameras all along the route of the march to take pictures for the news. They had me right in the front holding a banner so that I would be the face on the news, basically, which was really cool. And after so long of feeling like no recognition for all my hard work, it just meant a lot that they wanted me to be that face. So we did the march, we got up to the Capitol, it was amazing, I gave my speech. We actually had microphones all run by bikes. So like all the speeches were bike powered, which was so cool. And so I gave my speech for the first time ever, and then that night, there's a singer named Glenn Hansard from Ireland who was doing a concert in Salt Lake. And he reached out and wanted me to come speak at his concert. So after the big event that we poured our heart and souls into was over, I went home, took a shower. Oh, it was like really cold and rainy that day, so I was like gross because I had been in like 7 layers. Took a shower, changed, and drove back downtown. I wanted to take the train, but we didn't have time. So we drove downtown. and I got to go backstage and meet Glenn Hansard, and I talked about this experience in my last Hair Dye Q&A, if you want to watch that one. I got to like go backstage and meet him, and then he had me sit in the audience and then come on stage, and I gave a speech on stage, which, by the way, all my speeches are on my channel, if you did not know that. So any of these speeches I'm talking about, I have a playlist called My Speeches, and you can just go watch them. But yeah, so I got to go do that night, and then the next morning, I, gave a speech / like a talk kind of thing at People's Energy Summit, which was amazing. People's Energy Summit is basically, okay, this is how it was explained to me at the time. There's like the Governor's Energy Summit or something, I guess. But in that Energy Summit, they were like, yay fossil fuels, screw the earth. And so they created what's called the People's Energy Summit, which is a response to the Governor's Energy Summit, where they talk about clean energy and stuff like that. And so I was invited to be a keynote speaker there, and so I spoke there. So this is all within the span of 2 days. So I gave 3 speeches in 2 days. I had never publicly spoken before. It was absolutely terrifying, but I was like, this is what we're doing, so that's what I did. And then everything, that was on a Friday and then a Saturday. And so then the Sunday pulled around. And I was like, okay, cool, like, this is my day to rest, and I rested. And then the next day was back to school. So I went back to school, thinking, like, it's just gonna be another, like, normal day at school. Like, all the excitement is over. And in the middle of the day, I got a text, and they were like, they want you to come and talk on the radio, and they want to fill up 2 slots with you and this guy Max, who had been organizing some stuff at the college down here in Utah. And so I was like, okay, and I got checked out of school to go be on the radio. This is all, like I said, this is in 4 days now. This is all within 4 days. So that was, like I said, like, that was the turning point. That was the pinnacle of my activism journey. And then after that week, I got so many messages on Instagram from people saying, like, you're so amazing. I saw your speech at this event or this event or this event. Like, I want to, you know, get involved. Like, how can I do what you do? And it was just, like, so surreal and crazy. Like, people were treating me like I was some sort of celebrity. And it was really cool. And, like, the next week at strike, the week after the September 20th strike, we had so many people. Like, people were actually showing up because they had gone to that September 20th strike and basically caught the fever. They caught the activism bug, and so people started coming, and strike got bigger and bigger. And, you know, some weeks we would have, like, 100 people throughout the day coming and going, and it was, like, super crazy and just super amazing after all of our hard work to be able to see that, like, profit kind of that we had gotten from it. Numbers went way down, and eventually it was just Raquel and I again. And there's 2 adults that come, Vaughn and Kevin, who are some nice dudes that come by every week. And so it was just the 4 of us, and it got kind of discouraging, but it was okay. It was still okay. So then we just kept on striking, kept on going, hoping that people would come back, I guess, as our numbers were dwindling. But we were like, well, y'all can leave, but we're not going to give up. So we just kept going. And then the mayor of Salt Lake, who was really coolio, she's not the mayor anymore, which is sad because I really liked her, but there's a project called Color SLC, where they cover, like, the utility boxes that are usually, like, green or gray, that, you know, have, like, the electric and stuff in them. They cover them in art from different things. And so they actually covered one in pictures from the September 20th strike, of pictures of people's signs. This lighting is so bad, I'm so sorry. And they dedicated it to us, and I got to speak at that, like, unveiling, and it was so cool. And then a few days later, I was hospitalized and took a 3-month hiatus. Is that how you pronounce it? From activism, because I was hospitalized due to anorexia nervosa, and I was in the hospital for 3 months. And then I came back this January. Thank goodness I'm back. My hair is gonna look so ratchet. Oh, it's already on my forehead. It's already on my forehead. Oh, crap. So, okay, I'm really tired. I need to end this video because I'm, like, my brain's fried. And I'm not making any sense. And I'm getting red dye everywhere. So. Okay. I came back and, I just started striking again, basically, and just normal Friday strikes. Super lonely. Only about 2 people, or 2 to 4 people every week, which was depressing, frankly, but it's like whatever. And then now we started we started organizing and getting ready for the big Earth Day strikes, and then the coronavirus happened. The end, like, then the coronavirus happened. So now we're working on getting, like, some digital stuff for the Earth Day strikes that I think is going to be really fun, and we're going to be doing digital events. And then I started doing daily digital strikes. Once I got quarantined, I was like, I'm going to strike every day. So that's my activism journey summarized. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry, this has been, like, such a weird video, and I've just been all over the place. Isolation's been taking a toll on my brain. But thank you for watching. Like the video. Can you tell that I'm literally losing my mind right now? And subscribe if you want. I love you guys. Remember to never be silent and never be violent. Peace out.